Hey guys, it's Craig at Area 419. Congratulations on receiving your Maverick. Whether you're a dealer, you got a pile of them, you're a guy that's been waiting on the ATF for a long time, it's your first can or it's your 150th can, Adam Lawson. We're glad you have this in hand. So here's what we want you to do when you get it. First thing you're going to do is you're going to open it, you're going to see this instructional card. Read every word of it. We wrote it to be concise, but include information that you really need if you want to operate this in an efficient and safe manner. So please read every word. The next thing I want you to do is take everything out of the box. When we shipped it, we put some parts together so that everything would fit nicely in this wonderful foam from Brack Patriot cases. But we want you to get everything apart so you can see it. A little Easter egg about the box: when you take your parts out, if you pull on the foam, it's all press fit in. There's a little bit of extra space in the bottom. If you want to put your stamp or your trust or any of the paperwork that goes along with your possession of a suppressor down there, you can do it. It'll stay nice and secure. So just a little point for you guys. The next thing I'm going to do is talk about each individual part. So when you get it out of the box, go ahead and take all of those pieces and parts into individual segments. Note that all these threads are left-hand thread, so if you keep trying to unthread something and it feels like it's not going anywhere, maybe try to go the other direction. First part's your universal adapter. This is just like, or it is a Hellfire or Sidewinder universal adapter. You're likely familiar with this. Go ahead and torque it on your barrel. The appropriate torque spec for a 5/8 24 thread is 25 foot-pounds. People ask all the time whether it's okay to use blue Loctite. It's totally fine. Well, blue Loctite never hurt anything. It can be useful if you're using factory threads that might not be cut to a nice class 3 spec. So if you use it or don't use it, either way is totally fine. Kind of do what makes you feel good. Next part I want to talk about is your wrench. This is not a wrench for taking your suppressor apart. If you attempt to take apart your suppressor using this wrench, you will void the warranty of your suppressor. Simply don't do it. There's nothing in there that's going to break. Our concern is that you'll not be able to get it back together tightly. It's very hard to hold on to one of these with a lot of force unless you have the appropriate tooling to do so. We do. 99.5% of you will not. So please do not try to disassemble your suppressor using this wrench. What it's really for is if you are attaching the suppressor to your rifle and you want a little bit of extra grab to get a little bit of extra tightness, that's okay. Don't go crazy, but that's okay. Or really, if you've got the suppressor hot, it's become fairly tight on the universal adapter and you want a little help popping it loose, that's what the wrench is truly meant for, that you can reach in there with an open end, grab it around your barrel, and get that first little bit of extra help you need to break that taper seal. Now for the individual parts of the suppressor, we're going to go from smallest to largest here. This is a thread protector. Its functional purpose is simply to protect these threads and this taper on both your stage 1 and your core module. If you have this, there's no real reason that you should ever have exposed threads and taper when you are using the Maverick in a suppressor setup. So that's what this is for. We've got your stage 1 module. This is an empty piece where the aperture acts as both a little bit of a baffle as well as like we said, an aperture. This is useful if you're trying to shoot the 5-inch suppressor setup, as it will reduce the very large aperture that's in the core to something that is smaller, contains sound better, gives you a better tone. This is an important piece if you want to run the 5-inch suppressor or the 6.5-inch brake. We'll get into that. It can also be run in a stack for 9.2 inches. This is the Maverick brake. This functions just like a Hellfire or a Sidewinder, using either the core taper or the stage 1 taper as the mating surface. If you have a Maverick, I'm going to assume that you are at least familiar and likely an owner of a Hellfire or a Sidewinder brake, so it will tighten and index the same way. When you're taking this off, be aware that this is a very large taper surface. It's going to have a very good bond. So just like when removing a Hellfire or a Sidewinder, you'll start to unscrew it and you'll feel the threads stop. What you're then going to get is a mechanical advantage based with the thread that's going to allow them to push that taper loose. So this is just like a Hellfire or Sidewinder with a really strong bond. We've then got your core module. This is a serialized part. No matter how you configure your Maverick, you will be using this part. If you use it on its own, maybe with a thread protector, it's going to effectively be a blast forwarder or a linear compensator. It's not going to be something that you want to shoot without ears. It's not going to be hearing safe. This is meant to knock down a meaningful amount of concussion and sound, which it does, but a rifle is still going to be loud with it. This is your core unit. You'll use it basically all the time. You then have your stage 2 baffle stack. This is what allows the system to function like a traditional suppressor would. You've seen a lot of testing in this configuration against, let's say, an Omega or a Thunder Beast Ultra 7, and it does a really good job. Let's talk about the different suppressor setups and the way that you can put this together. Before I do, though, I want to let you know when you get this, any way you configure it, especially as a brake, make sure you put 10 or 50, a certain number of rounds on it to become comfortable with it. A lot of the guys that are buying these right now are competitive shooters or plan to be competitive, and you're likely very in tune with the way that your rifle feels, the way that it tracks, the way that it recoils, and the way that you can watch bullets fly down range. It's going to be a little bit different. If you've shot a brake, you understand that it all happens instantly fast. There's no time through which recoil takes place. It just boom happens. If you shoot a suppressor, you know that it takes place over a very long time. You get a very long push. If you're running these brake setups in either 5.5 or 6.5 inch, you're going to get incrementally longer recoil impulses. The rifle is also going to track flatter than you're likely used to because of the design of the Maverick brake, giving you an appreciable amount of downforce on that muzzle. What we know is staying on target in the reticle and being able to watch a bullet land, fly, watch that trace. It's very important, and the reason you're thrown off target isn't necessarily because of pure recoil, pure force. It's because that muzzle's moving around. So what we wanted the Maverick to do is control that muzzle. So anyway, when you set this up and you start shooting it as a brake, take some time to get used to the way that it feels, the way that it tracks, the amount of time over which the recoil takes place. We don't think any of you have felt anything like this, simply because there's nothing else like it on the market. So let's talk about setups for the system. Suppressor configurations. Not really a suppressor. We talked about this as a blast forward or a linear compensator. While it is, according to the National Firearms Branch and according to the U.S. government, it is a suppressor because there are baffles. We don't want you to treat this as a traditional suppressor because it's not something that you're going to want to listen to repeatedly. It is more of a linear compensator or a blast forwarder in this configuration. You want to start cutting some noise? Let's talk about the 5-inch setup. This is one of the favorite ways to put this can together. It's going to knock down a meaningful amount of sound if you're in a deer stand or in a blind and you're going to take one shot or maybe two if you didn't put the first one in the right spot. It's going to take down a lot of that noise and be something that allows you to take those shots without deafening yourself. It's still loud. I mean, it's still a 5-inch suppressor, but it's going to do a really good job compared to a bare muzzle, and it's nice, it's short, it's compact, it's light, it's handy. You can set it up in the 8-inch configuration. You've seen us shoot a lot of this in testing with a sound meter. The sound's really good. It handles really well. It's nice and light. This is probably our favorite suppressor configuration, and it does a really good job. You can also put this together as a 9.2-inch suppressor. This 9.2-inch suppressor is how the unit is registered with the U.S. government. It's likely what was on your Form 4, unless you bought an 8-inch. Not very many 8-inches have sold. Most guys are going to 9.2. But this is how it is. It's registered. You can put it together like this. It shoots well like this. It's not a lot quieter than the 8-inch version. You get a little bit of a tonal difference because of this nice expansion chamber in the center. But the 9.2-inch configuration is absolutely usable. We can then talk about our brake configurations. We set it up in the 5.5-inch version, which is how we expect to see them largely at matches. This is going to give you the best braking performance, the best muzzle control, and will serve the best purpose for the largest number of guys. You can also, however, configure this as a 6.5-inch brake. The key difference comes at the stage 1. The core's aperture is very large. This allows a lot of air, high velocity gas to move through and interact with the brake, which is going to allow the brake to be most effective. But if for some reason you want it to feel different, let's say you're shooting a very light recoiling round, a 6BR, BRA, 6-dasher, and you have a really heavy gun. There are a lot of guys out there shooting a 6BRA at 2,800 feet per second in a 26-pound MDT gun. Not a lot of recoil going on there. The gun's not really going very far anyway, so they might want to change the way that the Maverick interacts with their firearm. This is a setting that the guys may, or configuration that guys may enjoy. This stage 1 is going to allow for extra expansion space, which is going to lower the pressure. It also has a smaller aperture, which is going to reduce the volume of gas moving through and interacting with the brake. So again, set it up for higher performance this way, or for a little bit different feel this way. It's also worth noting, we spent a lot of time making sure the stage 2 baffle stack and the brake weighed very, very close to the same amount. When you get them out of the box, the stage 2 baffle stack will actually be a gram or so lighter than the brake. Reason being, we know that there will be some amount of carbon that builds up and lives in this. So we wanted there to be, we wanted the stage 2 to be able to start just a hair lighter and finish maybe just a hair heavier, but stay very, very close to this brake weight so that you see a very small, if not zero, point of impact change when you go from, let's say, the 5.5-inch brake to the 8-inch suppressor, or from the 6.5-inch brake to the 9.2-inch can. We thought this would be useful for guys that might want to go out and train or zero or spend some time with their buddies with a traditional suppressor sound and feel profile, but when they go to a match, they want a little bit more control. I think I've covered all the different ways you can put this thing together. We'll also have a graphic on this page if you're at area 419/my-Maverick to be able to see all those different ways, what they weigh, what they meter, how they kind of sound. If you've got any questions, again, if you're on this page, there's going to be a contact form that is dedicated to Maverick owners. It's for questions about your Maverick. If you need service, you have an issue, you got an idea, whatever it might be, that's going to be there. We're also going to have suppressor covers listed on this page. If you scroll down, we'll have another video on how those kind of want to work too. And we will also have, very importantly, on this page for download, a service card. Every, let's say, year, or maybe it's 5,000, 8,000 rounds, somewhere in that window, you'd like to send your Maverick in for cleaning, please do. You'll be able to download that card. We want to know how many rounds are on it, what calibers you've been shooting through it. We want to learn how you've been using it for our own internal information. And it'll also give us the information that we need to get it back to you. There will be instructions there for how you send it to us, how we want it to come, what you need to do. We will then be able to get your suppressor in. We can look it over, inspect it, clean it. If it's required, we feel that it needs to be, we can maintenance it. We can take care of all of those things for you. So again, you've got a contact page or a contact form on this page. You've got access to suppressor covers on this page. You've got access to your service card on this page. If you have any questions at all, please reach out. We're glad you guys have these. We think they're a product that's unlike anything else on the market and will change the way that you are able to operate behind your rifle. And guys, thank you again.